In the top stories, Prime Minister Terence Drew has announced fuel tax cuts and cost of living relief measures as the war in the Middle East continues to drive up global fuel prices. The St. Lucia government is tabling the long-awaited Citizenship by Investment Program report in Parliament today, and Peru is headed to a runoff presidential election in June as no candidate has secured an outright win. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. I am Jasmine Thomas. First on the local scene, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew announced a series of measures this morning aimed at providing immediate cost of living relief as the U.S. and Israel war with Iran continues to impact global fuel prices. 4 key changes will take effect from the 20th of April to the 31st of July. The excise tax on gasoline will be cut in half from $1.95 to 98 cents per gallon.
We are acting. Effective April 20th, 2026, your government is implementing the following relief measures. First, the excise tax on gasoline will be reduced by 50% from EC $1.95 per gallon down to EC 98 cents per gallon until July 31st, 2026 in the first instance.
The Prime Minister says the government will absorb the $1.2 million cost, returning that money to motorists, households and businesses. The customs service charge on gasoline will also be reduced from 6% to 3%.
We will reduce the customs service charge on gasoline from 6% to 3% until July 31st, 2026. That is your government absorbing $600,000 so that every fill-up leaves a little more in your pocket.
Meanwhile, alternative energy equipment, including solar panels, will now be completely tax-free and duty-free. Additionally, shipping surcharges will no longer be included in customs tax calculations. Dr. Drew says the measures are designed to put real relief into the pockets of the people. And the government has expanded its national security framework, shifting from citizen security to a more inclusive human security and well-being approach. Minister with responsibility for human security and well-being, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, says this approach ensures that not only citizens but also residents and visitors are included in the country's security efforts.
Human security expands beyond just citizens alone. It means that this secretariat is dedicated to the security of all who are on St. Kitts and Nevis. Because you might have visitors who are not citizens. You might have residents who are not citizens. And so we want to make sure that all people in St. Kitts and Nevis are captured under the secretariat. Once you're in St. Kitts and Nevis, your security is also part of our responsibility.
The initiative also places greater emphasis on the overall well-being of individuals, moving beyond its initial focus on crime and violence reduction. Prime Minister Drew explained that while crime and violence have declined, the government is now focused on sustaining these gains through a more holistic approach.
Crime has come down significantly. Violent acts have come down significantly. But we want to know, how are you doing? And we want to make sure also that we are putting things in place specifically that would enhance your well-being as a member of this country or this society. That is why we have termed it now the Secretariat for Human Security and Well-being. So it's gone beyond just citizen security, but citizen security is encapsulated in that new terminology.
The newly established National Secretariat for Human Security and Well-being includes a dedicated office on the Bureau's staff and leadership team with support from regional and international partners. Meanwhile, co-chair of the Human Security and Wellbeing Task Force, Senator Iseline Phillip, says the name change does not alter the core mandate of the Secretariat. She says the strategy continues to use a public health approach to crime and violence prevention with a focus on proactive community-based interventions. Senator Phillip says data from surveys conducted across the country has identified a period of increased risk for young people.
That data is essentially telling us, it indicated to us there is a period in the year, which is usually during the summer months, where young people have increased vulnerability of being recruited into gangs or being idle and being engaged in nefarious activities. And that period is during the summer months, ideally starting really from end of April down to September. And that's usually the time when students go into exams, go into summer, there's no more formal schooling. And so that is the period with which the Secretariat for Human Security is seeking to do a more coordinated approach with the community.
In response, the Secretariat is introducing its first annual Own Your Summer Intervention initiative. The program will work with community groups to expand existing activities during the school break and engage youth in positive options. Officials say this is an all-of-society approach will be key to sustaining long-term peace, reducing crime, and improving well-being across the Federation. And Minister of Education Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, recently hosted a brunch in honor of public school principals and vice principals. The event recognized their commitment to the education sector and their role in shaping the minds of young people across St. Christopher and Nevis. Special recognition was also given to two outstanding educators for their outstanding years of service. Dale Phipps was honored as the longest-serving male principal, while Suzette Cannonier was recognized as the longest-serving female principal. As part of the celebration, each attendee received a token of appreciation, including a specially prepared gift package and a laptop to support their continued administrative instructional work. And the long-awaited Citizenship by Investment Program report is being presented in Parliament today. That's our regional news. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Philip Pear confirmed Monday the audited report, which was completed on the 1st of March in 2025, will be laid before the House. The report has been a key issue for the opposition United Workers' Party, which has raised concerns about delays and transparency. The Citizenship by Investment St. Lucia Annual Report 2024 to 2025 will be tabled by Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Tourism and Investment, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. He is also expected to present amendments to the program's regulations. Prime Minister Pear is further expected to present several financial resolutions during today's sitting. These include proposals to invest in the international finance cooperation and to borrow for infrastructure projects. Among them are the Sir Julian Hunt Highway Project, the rehabilitation of the Theobalds water supply system, and upgrades at Port Castries. Wayne Yip Choy, a former senior executive in Trinidad and Tobago's manufacturing sector, has died. Police say he died at his home in West Moorings at around 2 in the afternoon on Monday. The death has been ruled as a suicide. Yip Choy was best known for his leadership of two well-known companies, the Kiss Baking Company and Angostura Holdings Limited. He began his career in 1976 as managing director of Sweetheart Cakes Limited, which later became the Kiss Baking Company. He also served as managing director of the Caribbean Development Company and was a former president of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. Yip Choy was appointed Chief Executive Officer of Angostura Holdings in 2009 following the collapse of CL Financial. He was credited with helping to turn around the company during a period of significant financial difficulty. His tenure ended in 2011 after a dispute over performance-based compensation. The matter went to court, where he was awarded $28 million by the High Court. Choy also served on the boards of Ready Mix and Trinidad Cement Limited. On the international scene, Peru is headed to a presidential runoff in June after no candidate secured an outright victory in Sunday's election. Electoral authorities are continuing the count for a third day following delays that forced voting to be extended into Monday. With more than 70% of ballots counted, two right-wing candidates are currently leading. Keiko Fujimori has about 17% of the vote, followed by Rafael Lopez Aliaga with just under 13%. The two candidates with the most votes will advance to the runoff scheduled for the 7th of June. The finalists, however, had not been confirmed as of this morning. The election has been marked by logistical issues, with thousands of voters unable to cast ballots on Sunday. Authorities allowed more than 52,000 people in Lima, as well as some voters abroad, to vote on Monday. Voting is mandatory in Peru for citizens between the ages of 18 and 70. The vote comes amid rising concerns over crime and corruption, which have driven public frustration with the political system. And the impact of the war with Iran is now being felt in the global luxury watch industry. Industry leaders are gathering in Geneva this week for the annual Watches and Wonders Fair as the sector looks to recover from 2 years of declining sales. However, the ongoing conflict in the Middle East is adding further uncertainty. The war has driven up energy prices, disrupted travel, and affected key markets in the Gulf region. Analysts say the Middle East accounts for about 10% of Swiss watch exports, making it a significant market for the industry. In some areas, including the United Arab Emirates, sales have slowed sharply as tourism declines. At the same time, rising costs for precious metals and existing trade pressures have already been pushing price higher. The industry, which generates tens of billions of dollars annually, is now facing fresh concerns about inflation and consumer confidence. Recent reports show Swiss watch exports declined for a second consecutive year, even as high-end brands continue to dominate the market. And now for a look at the weather. Mostly cloudy conditions with widespread light rain and periods of showers are expected across the area. An inactive mid to upper level trough combined with moisture and instability is creating conditions for increased shower activity. Today will be mostly cloudy with an 80% chance of widespread light rain and periods of moderate showers. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies will continue with periods of light rain and occasional moderate showers. Temperatures will reach a high of 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit with an overnight low of 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be from the southeast at 9 to 26 kilometers per hour or 6 to 16 miles per hour, with lighter spells at times. Seas will range between 1.2 and 1.8 meters or about 4 to 6 feet. Sunset this evening will be at around 6:30 and sunrise tomorrow morning at around 5:55. That brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.